podcast. I'm your host, Tarun Verma.
And I'm Janu Chawla.
I generally do not like Cosmopolitan. Worst girl advice ever.
This is true.
But from time to time, they do have good articles that I think that warrant a good discussion and or just need to be made fun of.
Yeah.
Now, this one kind of was in the middle. It was about long-distance relationships. How to keep a long-distance relationship strong and sexy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, you got to help me out more with this because you've done the long-distance relationship stuff.
A bit, yeah.
A bit. More like you're the expert in these matters. Me, I actually just go on record and say I can't do long-distance relationships, so I don't get into them anymore.
Okay.
So you are the case in point, resident, chief expert in these matters.
Let's do this.
Got it? You gonna put your thinking cap on?
I have it on and ready to go.
So the first one was talk it up. I think that was pretty self-explanatory. You live in different cities. You live on either sides of the U.S. You just gotta talk. You gotta make time for it.
You gotta communicate. Yeah, I agree. I think, you got to have a sort of a regimented sort of schedule where you can count on having, this many, X many conversations in a day or week, whatever works for you.
I think the more important thing here is, of course you do need to interact, you do need to talk. What about the different platforms of communication?
You got to
texting, Snapchat, Instagram, texting, Twitter, Facebooking, phone, WhatsApping lately.
You got to use them all. Let's just say if you are going to commit to a long-distance relationship for more than 6 months, suppose, you need to be the expert in all the different kind of ways you can communicate with someone.
But is it important, though, to use all of them?
Yes,
it is. So Twittering my significant other is a big deal.
Okay, maybe not Twittering. I'm saying
love you.
Modes of communication. Let's just say, in the social media realm, let's say that Facebook is probably more important than a Twitter, right? Because Facebook is kind of like your home base, your
personality online.
Yeah, your online social
persona.
Resume, suppose.
Right.
So I'd say Twitter is pretty important for those who are crazy into social media, but it's nothing takes.
What about like Instagram and stuff like that?
Not really. I don't see how. Keep in mind, Facebook is one thing, but I kind of want my own space on Instagram, Twitter. I don't want my significant other, all up on my Instagram and Facebook, Twitter all the time. But Facebook is another thing because it's like, if your significant other isn't on Facebook, then it's like they don't exist almost to the world. Not that it doesn't matter.
No, it does matter. If your significant other isn't on Facebook, they don't exist. It is very true.
Yeah, it's kind of tough because that's a big part of your, life.
You're like a CIA agent or something, or like a ghost operative of the government if you don't have a Facebook account.
Yeah. And some other ways, if you're someone who really values their privacy, Facebook is, not being on Facebook is not the end of the world for you then. But definitely in the realm of social media, being, on Facebook, being, maybe in a relationship on Facebook, if y'all are at that level, that's pretty important. But other things like Voxer, WhatsApp, Snapchat, these kind of fun things, Skype, Google Hangout, GChat, these are staples in your everyday interaction with one another. And it's really important that sometimes you'll meet people who, I'm not much of a texter, or I'm not much of a phone person.
Those people can't make it.
Those people cannot make it. You better start learning. My significant other was, quoted as saying that he wasn't really much of a texter, and that was a huge roadblock in the beginning of our relationship because I would be constantly texting him throughout the day, and that just wasn't his mode of communication. His response to my text messages was to pick up the phone and call me.
Right.
And I was like, whoa. I'm not looking for
I'm not looking for that kind of a thing.
I'm not looking for a phone conversation at, 1:35 p.m.
while I'm at work.
Right. I just kind of wanted to have an interaction with you right quick. So you kind of have to be on the same page of what modes of communication you're open to using and how often you use them and what you use them for.
I think you can almost break down an entire podcast going through each and every app, social media thing, and saying how can you best utilize it. Like,
in a relationship.
You said that you don't actually value or see any importance of Instagram. Me and my girlfriend, we actually use Instagram quite a bit for each other. Mm-hmm. Like, I follow random, they're not even people, but they're just like people who just post memes or something, like funny memes about politics or pharmacy memes or something.
Yeah.
Or fashion memes. Like the big ththing is my girlfriend, she follows Michael Kors a lot, like any other girl would. And so she tags me in stuff that she thinks she would like for me to buy her. Ideally, in an ideal world.
Woman.
She's a smart woman, but she ain't getting shit. Okay? But it's cool because then it gives me an idea of what kind of stuff she likes, what kind of watches does she like.
That's true.
And then memes too. It's not just like, hey, I love this watch. It's more like, hey, check out this meme. It reminded me of you. And I'm like, that's a really cool thing to do as a couple.
Actually, you know, what's funny is my coworker who sits next to me at work, he also met his significant other on, he met her on Match.com. And they've been dating for about a year and a half. And I started asking him, so, yo, are you going to propose to this girl? Y'all going to get married? And he said, yeah. Actually, I have the ring in my pocket. Like, we were having lunch together.
Whoa.
He's like, I've got the ring in my pocket.
Why is a dude walking around with a wedding ring in his pocket,
He said he just picked it up that day. And
it's not like a set of keys that you keep your wedding ring in your pocket.
I know. So and I go, wow, so, you know, did you guys go shopping together? Did you have the conversation about what she likes? He's like, no. Actually, I just went on her Pinterest.
Whoa.
And I'm like, genius idea. You want to know, okay, ladies, you have to agree, Pinterest, we pin some crazy ass shit that if some of our men saw the shit that we pin on Pinterest, you know, your wedding board, they'd kind of be like, whoa, this chick's already got this wedding planned out. But that's a really smart way to, like, you know, for him to find out what his woman likes without them having to discuss it. So it could be a complete surprise to her that he just miraculously knew what she wanted.
And see, that's a bingo. See, I love the surprises in a relationship. I think that in today's day and age, the surprises are gone. It's so hard to surprise your significant other. Social media is a great outlet for that thing.
Exactly.
If you are, that's a great idea. Stalking your girlfriend's Pinterest. That is amazing. Then you know what to cook her. You know what to buy her. When it comes to buying a girl clothes, we pretty much just go to Victoria's Secret and that's it. We don't go to Bebe. We don't go to these places and buy all dresses and stuff because we have no idea about them.
Yeah.
But bras and panties, we're all up on that though. But this is great because now we know what dresses you want.
Pinterest gives you a look into like the niche market of what she's into. What kind of rings does she like? What kind of colors? What kind of flowers? What kind of decor? So it really gives you a look into a girl's personality. So I thought that was a really good idea. You know, do I want my man to follow me on Pinterest and repin the things I pin? Not necessarily.
No, I think that's a bit much.
But I'd like for him to at least be aware and be savvy
enough to know that that's a resource he can use. It's a resource.
And acknowledge that, this is, while he may not be a Pinterest, avid Pinterest fan or pinner, that this is something that I use as an outlet for my creativity and inspiration.
This is an even bigger conversation that we need to have about social media. All the different avenues, you put them together, you get your full personality. Facebook, especially with all the invasion of privacy going on Facebook, my mom and dad are on there, my coworkers are on there. You don't get a full picture of me on Facebook anymore.
Yeah.
LinkedIn only really kind of gives you the professional me. Twitter lets you see the crazy in me where I'll just randomly tweet the craziest stuff. Yeah, so you got to piece them all together. The Instagram, the Pinterest, the Twitter, the WhatsApp. All of those things kind of come together to give you the full picture. And so I think social media isn't for everyone. The internet life isn't for everyone, but you need to be pretty savvy in what your significant other is.
Yeah, and keep in mind, this is a self-made, superficial piece of the puzzle of, what someone is, the perception that you want to put out about yourself. Take that with a grain of salt, but it still tells you a lot about a person.
Right. I mean, nothing will substitute you sitting down and getting to know that person that way, but I'm just saying, just like you said, the whole Pinterest thing to find out great gift ideas. That's awesome, because guys will all the time, my cousins will ask me, hey, I like this girl, what should I get her? And I'm like, I don't know. In high school, my go-to thing was go to Bath & Body Works, get one of those gift baskets. I never went wrong with it. But you can't do that at 27, 28, 30.
It gives you a great idea to give those really meaningful gifts, which are really, when you're with someone 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you start to run out of gift ideas. And just insight into little quirky things that they're into or thinking about. And so it's a great way to kind of keep up with your significant other.
And it has to help, because I've seen a lot of girls who will use arts and crafts for their man's gifts ideas, like little collages and books, and that's cute, but it's not so cute when a guy does it for a girl.
Yeah.
A girl wants the MK on her purse bag, on her watch, the Gucci, the Louis V's. Those things are still kind of a staple. Mm-hmm. Those will never, no collage or homemade art project will ever substitute for a $500 Michael Kors watch. It just won't.
I agree.
I think that's a really cool one. And we spent like 10 minutes on this. We still have to go through like 10 more points on this article. Let's get on with it. The next one is keeping things light. I know that the one or two long distance relationships I had, it was always about, oh my God, I miss you. I can't believe we're not in the same city. This point I thought was one of the more important things that Cosmopolitan throws out when they want to be serious 10% of the time. They nail it here. You should keep things light. How important is that?
That's really important. You know, you have to have those serious conversations in a relationship and work stuff out, figure things out. But you gotta understand, if that same conversation was in person, it'd be so much easier because you can touch the person, you can see the person, you can feel their presence, you can smell them. You know, all those kind of things that remind you of your significant other. You can experience that in person. But if you're having these heavy-duty conversations on the phone, long distance, where when you're pissed off and you have to hang up the phone, suddenly you're by yourself and you're in a totally different environment, it could be a recipe for disaster. So it's really important that, you know, while you can't control like spontaneous, serious discussions, that if you feel like there's something nagging at you and you need to talk about it, you need to get it out in the open, it's going to be a heavy topic, give them a heads up. Let them know. I mean, you're not having the same day as each other. You know, you could have had an awesome day. He could have had a shitty day. The last thing he needs is to listen to your, you know, rant at the end of his day. So give him a heads up. Let him know.
I think another big thing is that you perceive text messages a certain way, right? There's no tone that's sent over. There's no inflections.
Never have a serious discussion over text messages.
Well, it never should, but people still do. I know I haven't had like long distance relationships, but even I've had arguments over text, and they get to a point where I'm like, you know what? Screw this. I'm out of here. I'm done with this chick. Yeah. But then when you actually get to a point where later on that day you talk to them, it's not that bad.
It's not.
It's just you happen to, because you were all riled up mentally, you took the text messages in a more hostile light.
Think before you text.
Like,
I can't tell you how many times I've maybe typed out a 160 character response. I'm ready to fire back. I'm about to hit send, and I'm like, is this worth it? And I just erase the whole thing, and I just leave it be. There's silence. I go off the radar. There's no texting for the rest of the day. While I'm at work,
you just gotta take time to calm down.
Yeah,
I gotta take time to calm down. There is no such thing as blaming it on the goose when it comes to the text. You can't blame it on the goose because it got you feeling loose. You can't do it. It just doesn't work. So that's a very important thing, and I think you need to always focus on the positives of your relationships. When especially if you're living in different cities, you gotta focus on how they make you laugh, how they do this, rather than the longing and the sad shit.
Yeah, you know, if you just remember that ink. You know how they say ink is more permanent than something, but texting is even more permanent than ink. You know,
because you can look back at the text.
People, like, you could set in motion a very bad day for someone if you pour out something really heavy and something really emotional via text, because then it just lingers there. You may get that out and move on emotionally an hour later and be okay at work, but that person is going to be sitting there with a bad taste.
And then vice versa. Let's lighten that whole thing up and just say, even talking sweet to your girlfriend, right, or your boyfriend, and just saying, hey babe, I love you, hope you have a great day, or say a little funny joke. Even if that person doesn't have time to respond, I don't know how many times when I'm having a bad day, I'll scroll through my girlfriend's text. And just the nice little smiley faces and all that just kind of cheer me up.
Exactly.
Her little, good night, babe, I hope you're doing great, good morning, tackle the world, carpe diem, nuts all over the world. Like, that whole thing is actually a really cool thing because, like you said, pen is mightier than the sword. You go back and you read those texts, you're like, man, this is cool. It's a great source, the way to remember your relationship and everything.
Exactly.
So, and then the third point is, actually it kind of tied into what you were already saying, that you should never text when you're angry. So we already covered that point too.
Well, that's something, really, if you're going to commit to a long-distance relationship, first I have to say, we live in in a society that's very focused on instant gratification. So long-distance relationships are not for everyone. I would say 90% of people probably are not built out for long-distance relationships. Keeping that in mind, if you're going to commit to that long-distance setup, you need to realize that picking up the phone and speaking to one another, even if it may be a tad bit inconvenient, is much better than having your tone, your meaning misconstrued by a text. That's happened to me so many times where I will say something and I'm like, well, he'll know what I'm talking about. And he gets a completely different perception of what I just said. And it could have all been cleared, if we just picked up the phone.
That's true. And that goes right into the next point we're going to make is always make sure you're on the same page.
Yeah.
Right? So what are your expectations of the relationship? What are your expectations of your life? I mean, if you're living in two different cities, it usually is because you guys are pursuing different things and something else is going on. You constantly have to say, hey, babe, here's my expectations for my career. Here's where the job is going to be in New York. Here's the thing that I'm striving for. Here's where I'm going to be going. And you have to constantly be in tune with each other. You can't just be like, hey, babe, so I got this promotion. I'm going to New York. And all of a sudden that other person's going, I invested 8-9 months. And all of a sudden you're going to pick up and go to New York and you're going to put your career ahead of me. I thought we were building a life together. You always have to make sure you're on the same page. Professionally, romantically, are you guys in tune?
I agree.
The next big thing is, and this is just a given, if you're living apart, you need to find time to make trips to see each other.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is there like a set limit? Is there like you need to see each other every month or 2 months or 3 months? Like, is there a limit to these things?
I feel like there is. Everyone is different. I get that, but I feel like more than 3 months is killer. I think I went one time 4 months, and it was incredibly difficult. I think what a good rule of thumb is: be flexible, be smart with your money. Don't be that person that's always blowing money on little things here and there, and then when it comes time to maybe see each other and it's your turn to fly somewhere, your partner will start resenting you because it's like, hey, you just bought that Louis Vuitton purse that you didn't need, but you could have then instead come to see me, you know?
Right,
and now
right.
you can, and now you're saying you can't come see me after 3 months because you can't afford it. Be smart with your money. Prioritize your partner that way.
What about surprise visits? Because this article mentioned that be spontaneous, make spontaneous visits to see that person.
Yeah.
Is that necessary?
Oh,
because in
that's
today's day
very
and age, you're just so busy. Like, I don't know if I could do a surprise visit.
You have to look at your circumstances. Yeah, if you're someone who's committed to a crazy schedule, a crazy career, and that is priority, maybe surprise visits aren't something that you can do. But, you can at least plan ahead. I'll just speak from experience. One time we were planning a trip out to New York, and Hurricane Irene made its way there. So we couldn't go to New York anymore, and I was so bummed. I was looking forward to this. Instead, we were, like, at 12 o'clock at night, I booked a trip instead to another city, and we met up in another city and had fun there. And then, he was flexible enough to drive 7 hours to that city from where he was. So, stuff like that, you have to... It was so off the cuff. It was one of the most memorable, visits that we've had together. So I'd say definitely try. I mean, if your schedule allows it, if you look at your schedule today and you can do that, do it now before you can't do it anymore. Another thing is after you meet up, I think it's really important for you guys to start discussing possible dates for the next meetup. That is so important. It's so...
To start putting it on schedule so you can get
schedule.
something to get excited about.
Yeah.
Something to get excited about.
Oh, shucks, we didn't get to do this time. Oh, we'll see it. I'll see you next time. So it doesn't feel like, that, you have that sense of, you just get really sad that you're going to miss your significant other and you don't know when you'll see them next. If you have a date in mind that, I maybe will see this person in another 6 weeks or another 8 weeks. 8 weeks, it puts something on the schedule, it gets you excited, you can look forward to something.
It gives you also a sense of normalcy. Because the whole arrangement sucks ass that you can't be in the same city, there needs to be a sense of normalcy, which
Absolutely.
goes into the next point, which is, it's so tempting to when that person comes over for the weekend, you just want to spend all weekend with them. Dinner, movies, staying in bed all weekend.
I agree.
But you need to be able to take a good amount of that time and incorporate them into your social life. Say, hey, I know that we'll if you're coming Friday and Saturday night, let's Friday night just stay in together, you and me. But Saturday night, let's go out and have drinks with my friends.
Yes. So
or let's go to dinner with my friends, and then we'll spend the rest of the night together. So that it feels like they're not just in your personal life, that they're not this little piece of your life in a corner, but that they're part of a more expansive part of your life.
Yeah, I would even go as far as saying, like I said with the last point, plan your next trip and leave the planning there. Don't plan anymore. In the beginning, you're very tempted, like, oh my God, you're coming in town Friday, so we're going to do this, 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 and this, and this, and I'm going to get all dolled up, and I'm going to get all dressed up for you, and we're going to go out and do this whole thing again. That's great. Do that sometimes. Celebrate, special occasions, but leave the planning to a minimal so that when you're together,
leave room for magic.
You leave room for magic. You leave room for spontaneity. I mean, I think one of the most fun dates I ever had was where we met up at like 11 or 12. And we call it our dilly-dally dates, where we just dilly-dally around the city. Oh, I got to go to Best Buy real quick. Oh, let me go pick this up. Oh, hey, I need to go shopping for this. Will you come with me? And we just kind of let the date unfold as it goes. And, I don't plan every meal. Oh, I'm going to take you to this restaurant. That's really tempting. You just kind of let it happen. And those are the most fun days. We actually come out feeling a lot closer after those dates because now I know how he is when he's, picking out apples at the grocery store. I know how he is when he's shopping for a hard drive at Best Buy. Like, it gives me a real life picture of what this person is like doing just regular everyday stuff, not just dressed up to the nines with some nice wine, nice dinner. That's great. You're going to see that all the time.
But that's a very smart point. Is that even some of the best dates I've ever had, not planned. It was just you're wearing whatever clothes, you got shorts on and a t-shirt, and you're just like, hey babe, you just want to like drive around and
it's like, really hard to do that because you feel like you have limited time together. Like, oh shit, you're only in town for 3 days. We gotta plan, get everything in. I mean, just let it go, let it happen, see what happens. And so important to bring your significant other around your friends. I totally agree with this point. This Cosmo article is so on it. It's very surprising.
Well, just the main 2 points. I mean, everything else I think is pretty straightforward. But these 2 points were a big one. One was keeping things light and then integrate him into your life. I think that's a really, really good one.
Exactly. Yeah, your friends need to meet him. Even if your friends are in relationships and you feel like,
but how soon? How soon that you've been long distance dating someone should you start incorporating them into your friend circle?
It depends.
If you're Facebooking their friends
if
and all
your
that.
Relationship has always been long distance, then I would say give it some time.
6 months?
Get to know the person. I would say 6 months to a year, actually.
Really? Or even a year before they meet your friends?
I mean, it's very tempting, especially if you have a
I think we clash there because I would say 6 months. If you can make it 6 months in a long distance relationship and you've started seeing each other, well, let's do this. Put this addendum out there. 6 months from the time that you first meet each other, the first trip. 6 months from then, you need to start going out with each other's friends.
If you see each other, let's say you see each other maybe every other month. In a year, that's 6 times. In 6 months, that's 3 times that you've seen each other. I think that, your friends will form opinions like that. Their opinion, them forming an opinion, it's not going to be super thought out. Maybe it is. You can't trust them, when it comes to this kind of stuff. So why would you want to bring your significant other that you've only met 3 times or 6 times around your friends and open yourself up to that criticism that early? I think it takes time.
You want to solidify it first so that their opinions won't make a difference.
Their opinions matter. I mean, I'm not trying to say that all best friends, are just going to make off-the-cuff remarks about your significant other. I think you need to really take the time to get to know this person as well as you can. Your situation of a long-distance relationship is not easy. And for someone to come in and maybe make an innocent remark that they think is not a very bad criticism.
You'll take it hard.
You'll take it hard. It'll set things in motion. It'll mess with your head when you're apart from this person. So I think a little after a year is a good time.
A good thing. Again, you're the chief resident.
I personally waited like almost 2.5, 3 years.
Before I met, okay.
Yeah.
Now the next one, I mean, I'll just gloss over that. Have fun with yourself. And I'm not talking about using sex toys, but it's just, in your free time, take that time away from that person for self-exploration, take classes, expand your horizons. Man, that's just healthy stuff.
Keep yourself interesting. No, but it seems like a very easy point, but just gotta mention, it's easy to kind of just fall into that rut where every conversation is like, hey, what are you doing? Nothing. Just came home from work. Just not doing much.
That's still all familiar.
You gotta have that. You gotta have that exciting life. You gotta have something to talk about. New experiences. You gotta grow, and your partner has to grow.
I went mountain climbing. I did this, or I went rowing for the first time.
Because not only does that make you a more interesting person and it enriches you, but it makes that person, excited to be with you because you're doing all these cool things when they're not with you. So it's like. You're exclusive.
You're going to be doing the cool things when you're together,
Yeah, you're adventurous, you're open-minded, you're fun-loving. Your life doesn't just revolve around him or her only. So it's important.
And then the next point was keep their mailbox happy.
Oh, yeah.
And that could just be email or just regular physical mail. How important is it to mail each other little trinkets? Or is it just really for the big holidays? Valentine's Day, the birthdays?
No. I mean, if you can't, budget a trip to see each other, mailing out a care package, it may cost you $20, $30. That's still cheaper than a flight. So I would say use the mail as often as you can. Surprise flowers for no reason. Surprise care packages. If you're celebrating something and maybe they got promoted, send them a bottle of champagne or something and drink it together on Skype. Create a date out of it.
It is fun if you don't expect it. Like I I am, for better or for worse, I am a Groupon goods junkie a little bit. I'll just randomly peruse it and buy shit, but I never know when it's coming in the mail. So I'll randomly be checking the mail and going, oh, wow, this thing came in. Which one is it? Because I'll always buy like, oh, this is cool. This is the cables that I bought, or this is the little like electronic chargers I bought and stuff like that. It's totally cool.
I was, complaining about feeling a pain in my wrist from being at the computer all day. One day I come home from work, I talk to my significant other every single day. Didn't even know I had a, ergonomic mouse and mouse pad waiting for me,
That's awesome.
So it really felt good that he was listening to me. He cared about me enough to send me something like that.
It brings you closer together.
Mail each other stuff. Email, especially, if you find you don't want to mail something, send them a some e-card. Send them a link to a YouTube song that reminded them of you or you just like. We have these things at our disposal. Use them. Don't be lazy about it.
Right. Now, the next one, I don't know how much you want to dive into this. Turn your phone into a sex toy.
I'm just going to reserve this area, but I just got to say, do what you have to do. Be open to it. Don't be so close-minded where you're like, oh, I've never done this before. I'm not into that. That's so weird, over Skype.
So, moral of the story is get your jollies off any which way you can.
Yeah.
Skype, text, FaceTime, whatever it takes. You got to get the intimacy in.
Skype is, your genius invention of our day and age. It makes long-distance relationships so much easier. I can't tell you, how much closer I feel if I have the same conversation that I'm having over phone, if I have it over Skype. Or sometimes, if my significant other is studying, and I just watch him study, while I, peruse the internet, and I have him in the top left corner of my screen. Everyone likes to Google. Everyone has that time where they're going through their email, whatever, YouTube. Just watch each other do it. It's really creepy to those who aren't in long-distance relationships. They think that's kind of crazy and a little stalkerish and creepy, but it really isn't. You get to just feel each other's presence, and it's so important.
Yeah, I wonder if the inventors of Skype knew how potent Skype sex was going to be, that it was going to be like a huge part of their business model, their product that they're creating.
Seriously, did they know they were giving birth to a thing called Skype?
Skype sex.
Yes.
Right, that in itself is this huge thing.
I agree.
And then the last one is setting up long-distance dates, which I think goes right back to what you were saying, these Skype dates. You got to make sure that you set time apart just to eat together or something over Skype.
Eat together, or, we did the thing recently where we both found that we were both watching Shark Tank every Friday. So now we watch it either Friday or Saturday, and we discuss it on Saturday. So, hey, did you watch the Shark Tank? Yeah, it happened. I have to admit, I'm a big reality TV junkie, so I don't expect my significant other to be into that as well. But it's nice that we can kind of find these commonalities, these events that happen every week, and then discuss them. It brings a routine.
Is it necessary, though? Because there's one thing to say that it helps, and then there's another thing to say that your relationship can't survive without this aspect. So adopt. Do you need to adopt set dates?
Yes.
Like how far in advance? Are we talking about like weekly dates, like every Sunday night we're going to get together? Or more like, hey babe, 10 o'clock in the morning, do you want to sit down and set aside an hour tonight and talk? Like, is that?
Yeah, it can be off the cuff. It can be, hey, I really miss you. Can we just do some stuff? Like, can we just have a Skype date tonight? I do that. It's as off the cuff as that day, or if it's like, hey, on Wednesday I have some time, can we Skype? So I would say it's really important. If you're not using it regularly, you're a fool, because you have these tools at your disposal, just like the social media. Everyone has a phone in their pocket. It's insane. My significant other travels halfway across the globe a couple months ago, and I was able to Skype with him on my phone, and it was insane. I was at work, and it was nighttime where he was, and he was about to go to bed. I was like, this is insane. It blew my mind. I'm in that generation of Facebook and technology, but my mind was blown that I could connect with my significant other halfway across the globe, where we were doing two different things. It's necessary.
It's funny how that whole term has gotten redefined. A long-distance relationship, you didn't have these things at your disposal 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. A long-distance relationship was a different definition.
Oh, yeah.
If those people were to see us today, they'd be like, this isn't long-distance dating. This is just dating now.
Yeah.
You can see each other anytime you want. You can pick up the phone. You can Snapchat. You can send pictures. The people that had to dial up the phones were 7. one.
Yeah.
Those people had it rough. I
did.
think we have it so easy, and yet we still complain. But I think that's just the problems of a generation and its society.
Exactly.
So we've hit up all the points of this article, and I think that this was a good one. Did you have any last concluding thoughts before we wrap for the day?
I just saw those people out there in long distance relationships. Just keep the faith. Do what you got to do. You have a million things at your fingertips. Use it. Be happy. And I hope that someday all you guys end up in the same city and live happily ever after.
And I'll sum it up by saying, don't stop. Get it, get it. We'll see you next time on the couch.